using a farmer's almanac to plan your RV trips.
But I'm not a farmer.
Are we crazy? Yes, we are.
Maybe. Not quite. Yes. Five things that we consider when traveling and planning an RV adventure. When planning an RV adventure, why would you want to look at a farmer's almanac?
Why, Chris? Why would we want to look at our farmer's almanac?
I'm not a farmer, I don't know. The reason for this is because there could be, if you're planning an RV adventure 6 months out, you want to look at potentially the weather trends for that area. All right, if you're going to go to Florida and it's going to be a huge hurricane season, Hurricane Ian just happened. Some people found themselves in a world of hurt a little bit, and you're planning your whole winter based upon that. You're traveling to that area. You could find yourself kind of in a little bit of a hurtful situation. And if you know, hey, the East Coast is going to have a mild winter, or the West Coast is going to have a mild winter, you know, it just helps. Or if you find out like the Midwest is going to have a crazy drought and it's going to be some major heat, maybe I want to avoid that. Farmer's Almanac, YouTube channels with like 200,000 subscribers, y'all are going to steal this one for sure.
At least just link us in.
All right, number two. The number two reason, or number two thing to consider about your RV adventure is fuel stops.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're looking ahead of time if you have a pretty large rig. We have a fifth wheel and a diesel truck, so we can't just pull in and over at any little gas station. We have to plan ahead and look to see where our rig can fit and what the prices are and figure it out from there.
It just helps too with, if you know, like for pit stops or anything like that, it's, you know, good to plan that out. It just makes the adventure a little less stressful during the actual event when you're already dealing with traffic and potentially hazardous situations, you know. In fact, there's a couple apps that you use. She helps a lot with the pit stops.
Yeah, I try to use the RV Parky and the Gas Buddy apps, and I make sure that I put in truck stops for that particular one for our needs, and look ahead of time on RV Parky to see if there's Walmart parking places or just rest areas in general to see if it's something that we could pull over and take a break.
Yep. With some of the rest stops, you have to be careful. If you plan to pull over and there's low limbs, you're not going to be able to take a rest. Number three, big city detours. I'm not talking about the traffic detours and things like that. A lot of the bigger cities have loops that are built around them, and sometimes it's easier and worth it to go around because sometimes the loops actually have better roads than going right through the middle where there's a ton of potholes and a lot more drivers to deal with.
Yeah, and the flow of traffic is usually a little bit better because it's usually some type of an interstate or some kind of a highway where you have a little bit more room and people can go around you if they're, you know, upset that you're an RV going a little slower.
Yeah. Number four, internet maps. They can take you down some crazy locations if you're not careful, just to save that 1 mile, even though it takes you 2 hours longer. We found this in our last trip. We planned everything out. We had our fuel stops perfect and everything. We went around a loop around a major city, and then when we got to the last part, it was only 10 miles, right? It took us through a suburban area and then through a couple of major city areas, and just 10 I'm still choked up over it. Just 10 miles took us over an hour, and it was also some rough roads, low-lying limbs, so I was trying to swerve not to hit the RV with the tree, and it was just difficult with the traffic. We were able to get there. There were some narrow roads. We looked at the map. There was actually a highway that was like half a mile away that we could have gone around. It may have been more mileage, but it probably would have saved us a good 35 minutes.
I think so.
So it would have been worth it. So just kind of be careful. You can't just hit, directions on your cell phone and it take you right to the location. Kind of look at the map, make sure it's good for you.
Yeah, make sure you kind of zoom in a little bit at the end to see what kind of craziness might be going on with your roads.
Yeah, and that brings up to...
Oh, and that also brings us up to tolls. Those are unexpected. Even when we use a mainstream map and we tell it no tolls, it will inevitably every time attempt its best to get us on a toll road, even though we put no tolls.
I don't know why. And you got to be careful because some tolls charge by the axle, some are by the time of day. They'll charge more for like an early morning commute or late evening commute, and you'll find it, a bill in your mail later on.
Yeah, or like if you get pulled over down the road and you didn't even realize you had a bill, that could be terrible. So make sure you're checking that.
Yeah. Number 5 is your time of day for when you pack up and for when you arrive. I say it's usually better to make sure there's daylight when you're packing up so that you don't leave anything there. We've actually seen some major big items accidentally left behind that were in good working order from other people. We haven't yet, you know. But then also too, when you're leaving, there's trees and things like that.
I see someone at the door.
Our dog just walked to the door. Thor thinks there's someone at the door. He's ready to greet him. Okay. But when you're leaving, you know, it's just an area that you're potentially not really familiar with. If you can see the roads correct.
Yeah, and definitely make sure that you've got giving yourself plenty of time for your tear down and to get there. Even if you've done it 100 times, something always seems to come up that kind of throws just a little wrench in there. So make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of grace, so you're not just trying to hurry and then you'll end up getting something, trying to get where you're going just because you didn't give yourself plenty of time to get packed up to go.
Yeah, you don't need any outside stresses whenever you're packing up or arriving and getting set up. The potential to rush, break something or anything like that happens. So it's definitely worth it to just hit the brakes, slow down. Let's work as a team, figure this out. So.
In closing, these are our 5 tips that we have learned so far as newbie full-time RVers.
When planning an RV adventure.
When planning an RV adventure, if you have any tips or comments or questions, please leave them in the comments below. We will read them and respond, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
If anything, tell us about your RV adventure. What's been the best one so far? Please like and subscribe. Y'all take care.